All right, so we're joined from the top of Mississippi by my man, the mayor of Southaven, Mississippi, Mr. Darren Musselwhite. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. This is our business law class. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools, Madison Central, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule for us.
Well, good morning, and thanks for inviting me. I look forward to doing this today. I've been looking forward to it.
Oh, absolutely. Before we obviously want to talk about all you do there with the municipal government, all the reasons municipal government is important as far as business and legal aspect. But just give us a little background. You played baseball at Ole Miss. Were a great pitcher there. Went on to play 3 years of minor league baseball, and worked in insurance for years before you became the mayor.
That's right. Yeah, I'm a former athlete. Played baseball at Ole Miss. Played a few years in the Minnesota Twins system, right-handed pitcher. Then, came back to my hometown, Southaven, started an insurance business and did that for about 25 years before getting the crazy idea of getting into politics.
Well, what was it that drove you to get into politics?
Seriously, we had some issues in Southaven in 2013, and I was in the business community for many years. So a group of people came to me and just said, "Hey, would you step up and help our city?" We had some leadership problems. They felt like that my skill set would be a good match to help Southaven, and so start off, I said no way when they first came to me, and then started thinking about it. And I think we all get to a point in our lives when we realize we need to give back to our community a little bit. I've always loved Southaven, and so just kind of came to that conclusion. It was time for me to step up and do a little more for my city.
Absolutely. Now, I think something that is misunderstood, and it's not anybody's fault, but I think a lot of our young people don't understand how important municipal government is, the careers that are available at great cities like Southaven, and then kind of the function of it. Because I was saying before you came online, local government and national government are almost completely different things. They are elected positions and things like that, but local issues are not going to be the same as the issues we see in Washington, D.C. And obviously, you've done a great job up there in Southaven because you've got to work with several large suburbs nearby and also kind of partner with the city of Memphis, which is right across the street, literally from your city limits. So, as our kids are, in high school, getting ready to get to the voting age, and maybe want to open businesses, maybe want to build homes in their cities, or buy homes in their cities, why is it so important to understand what a municipal government does? Because you guys are the ones overseeing the city departments, making the city ordinances, collecting the property taxes, and then making sure everybody's safe.
I'm happy to hear you say that. I've tried to explain that to people in this community for many years that, everybody gets excited about federal elections. Everybody gets,
Yeah.
Emotionally charged about things that are going on from a federal level. But your local elected officials and the decisions that are made locally are going to impact the citizens' lives tremendously more than a federal or even a state government decision. So it's important. Whatever you do in a city, like when the students decide to move on to careers and whatever they do, their careers are going to be impacted by local government decisions. So it's extremely important, to pay attention to what's going on locally in government because it does affect everyone.
Yeah, because I know you guys have 7 aldermen there in Southaven. These are the guys making the zoning decisions. They're deciding the tax rate for the businesses. They're the ones taking care of the streets. They're hiring the police chief. They're hiring the fire chief, and then also handling a lot of payments in the city offices, or even simple things like managing the baseball fields. So many things that the city oversees that we literally take for granted.
That's true. And just financially, what some don't understand is that, making good decisions, making good economic decisions to, have a healthy, strong economy. That's what keeps the tax rates level. So if you didn't have, that kind of sales tax revenue and tourism revenue coming in, it puts that burden back on the taxpayer. So it's extremely important for people to understand the financial process in operating a city. And that's so important to have a strong economy to level tax rates and, keep it a quality community, both financially and a great place to live.
Yeah, and I know Southaven is similar. We had our friend Mayor Gene McGee of Ridgeland here a few weeks ago, and he was talking about the need for every city is always going to need, even the people that aren't elected, they need skilled people to be in these positions. He said we always need good IT people. We need good tradespeople to fix things. We need good law enforcement officers. We need good financial people. So there's a ton of people that work for the city that are not elected to anything, but can really, really make a huge difference.
That's a great point. So many careers, like in Southaven, we have 13 departments. So I manage 13 department heads. But anything from police and fire, your public safety. But then when you get into streets and planning, things like that, you have to have professional, highly educated planning directors to help with zoning decisions and the planning of the city. Then you get into utilities. Your engineers, civil engineers affect drainage issues to the city, the road projects that happen. So really, like you said, there's so many careers that there are job opportunities in municipal government.
Yeah, and something else too about municipal government, and obviously you don't get elected 4 times without being great at this, because we mentioned how national politics and all the stuff we see on the news is completely different from local politics. Because you cannot get elected 4 times in a city of that many people without being able to work with everybody. Because the role of municipal government, you have to take care of everybody's needs, no matter who they vote for in a presidential election or what party they say they align with, because the community of Southaven has not become as amazing and fast growing as it is without everybody of all parties working together. So, talk about how you do that, because Southaven is really uh, growing faster than just about anywhere else in the country right now.
Well, again, thank you for saying that, and that's a great point. That the needs of citizens in a city are really not partisan. Whether you're Democratic or Republican or independent, whatever your political persuasion, we all want to have a safe community. We want to have good streets without potholes to be able to drive on. We want the city to look great. We want a beautiful place to live. We need, obviously, we have our household needs. We want the sanitation, trash and rubbish picked up. We need our street lights on. And then the fun stuff, in Southaven, that's been one of my big deals, is to improve the recreational value of the city. Snowgrove Park and Greenbrook Park and all of our park system is one of the best in the United States. And so we make a fun place. We have a place where people want to live. We've spent enormous amounts of investment into pedestrian routes now, where people, whether you play a sport or whatever, you and I have a baseball commonality, but there's people that don't play sports still to get out and to exercise, to walk, to do things like that. So really, we've met all the needs of the people, but it's not a partisan thing. It comes down to making a place where people feel safe and where they want to live, and that's what it's about. And that's how I've been elected. Just listening to people, understanding the needs of what people want in a place to live, and that's how you truly serve the people well.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, you guys have 7 aldermen there in Southaven, and it's important because I ask kids all the time, well, who's your city council person? And I get upset when people can't tell me who it is. So why is it important to pay attention to your city council person? Because at these city council meetings, there's a lot of very important decisions that need to be made.
Absolutely. Just like on the federal level, people see what happens on the federal level with the president and Congress and how they work together. Well, on a smaller scale, it's the same way in a local government. The mayor is the chief executive of the city. But like I tell aldermen, I need them and they need me. We have to work well together because they vote on the issues that change the laws in the city, that approve basically all the city business. So the mayor has to cultivate solid relationships. So it's a good lesson, for all the students, and whatever you choose to go into, whether it be politics or business or whatever. You've got to be able to work with people. You've got to be able to listen to people and find common ground. And that's what makes our country a great place and our cities great as well.
Yeah, and we have several kids that say they want to open businesses, and it's just so important to understand. The city has a big say in how things are zoned. And I know you, like you mentioned, you guys have done a great job in that, and you guys have got great neighborhoods, and there's businesses in Southaven that you can't find anywhere else in Mississippi, because of and it draws people down from Memphis, and you got people that live in Tennessee are coming and spending their money in Mississippi, and when that happens, that allows the city to even provide more things for the citizens.
Yeah, you do a great job explaining that. You understand DeSoto County well. We definitely have opportunities with tourism that other places don't because we're in a tri-state area. So when you build a place that's a nice place to live and visit, you're going to attract people. The baseball and softball tournaments. We've developed Silo Square in an entertainment district that has tremendous restaurants and fun places to shop and to eat. And so when you do stuff like that, you attract people that drive here and come here from other places and spend money. Well, that money boosts the economy. It allows us to do things in the city and enhance our city without putting a burden on our own taxpayers.
Big time. Now, obviously, we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about your background in insurance. And I've got mainly 15, 16, 17-year-olds in here with me right now. So they may not fully understand how insurance works. But it's been very important for a business. It's very important for an individual. And it's very important for a government as well. So, as these kids get ready to buy cars and to buy homes or even rent an apartment or open up a business, why is it so important to do research on the best type of insurance for that? Because it is something that can wind up costing you a whole lot of money if it's not researched correctly.
Great point. Insurance and banking are the fundamental uh, uh, foundation or pillar for business in our country. If you don't have insurance and banking, you have no business because so many businesses have to leverage their money by going and getting financing to get the business going. Insurance is the same way. It protects people from having a catastrophic loss. So whether it be huge business or a small household, you've got to first of all start with that foundation of protecting your assets. So just from a consumer standpoint, your home and your car insurance for most people, their home is one of their biggest investments. So you want to make sure that you're protected right. If something happens, that you don't lose your biggest asset. Obviously, liability insurance is a big deal. When you're driving a vehicle or whatever, you jeopardize your net worth if you're not protected financially with great liability insurance. So it's extremely important. And to talk to, I've always wanted to, and I appreciate this opportunity, to talk to high school students about this. Of all the things we learn in school, and they're all important, I do think that consumer finance class in high school would be tremendous, like to learn about finance, taxes, and insurance, all those three things, because regardless of what career you go into, you're going to need to have general knowledge about all those things to operate your household when you become an adult.
Yeah, and I know up in DeSoto County Schools, I got to give a shout out to my friend Paul Cressman up there in DeSoto County Schools. They've done a great job of putting that CTE and finance program in the schools there in DeSoto County. I know there's five or six high schools up there, and I know that is something that has not fallen on deaf ears. So up there in DeSoto County, here in Madison County, something we really push. We've had all types of financial guests, both in person and virtual, to because I'm far from an expert, but I can find people that are experts to talk about it. And it's things, and the funny thing is, when we have people that are my age and older, and they say nobody ever told us this when we were coming in school, but we want to change that, especially for our community here at Velma Jackson. Look, I was quoted in a magazine last year of saying that rural areas of Mississippi, especially rural black areas in Mississippi, were not given the resources and access for decades. But that has changed, and there's more access and resources now than ever. And it's just so important, because people can say, well, my family didn't have this or that. Well, I understand that you can't help who your family is, but you can change things by learning things and taking initiative now in school because all these resources are here for you.
Absolutely, it's extremely important. So I'm happy to hear that our schools have changed with that and understand the value of household finance. Teaching the basic principles of consumer finance for a household.
Now, before I get to their questions, there is one thing I want to talk about, and you mentioned this briefly about the being able to work with people, being able to do business. Because I think I can speak for every teacher that will see this later on the importance of being able to do simple things like walk in a room and introduce yourself, being able to have a sales pitch about yourself or your company, even if you're an employee, being able to look a customer in the eye and say, "Here's why you should do business with me," because that is what separates the great employees from the average employees and the average entrepreneurs from the great entrepreneurs. So, as somebody that has to speak all the time in front of TV cameras, in front of crowds, and in front of important people, why is that skill so important for young people to learn now?
The main thing is that you have a limited attention span. When you meet someone or you go into a meeting where you're going to get the opportunity to speak, you have a limited amount of time and attention from that person. So you've got to
Yeah.
grab their attention. You've got, and you alluded to that, you've got to quickly get their attention on why do they want to listen to you? What value do you bring to this discussion? So the best advice I can give in being able to speak influentially is that you have to quickly get the attention of your audience, and you got to make them understand why it's of value for them to listen to you. And then again, the most important thing learning communication skills is to be able to influence people. And the way you influence people is you bring value to them and you communicate that in a timely way.
Absolutely. Well, I do have some questions from the students, and these are really good. So I like that they're thinking about this. This person is Lucretia Harris. He's in ninth grade, and he asked, "How stressful is it to run a city, and how do you deal with the stress? And what are the biggest pros and cons of being an elected official?"
Well, that's a great question. The stress, obviously, it is a very stressful job. So, what I always tell people is that, I come from a sports background. I know you get that. And so, we always had a term before games. We would say, "Get your head right." And what that means, that's a very casual way of saying, be mentally prepared for the job that you're about to assume. And so, when you do a job like being mayor, you've got to get your head right. You got to understand that there are going to be things that don't go well. There are going to be stressful days that don't end well, but you got to always remember the big picture and know why you're doing it. So be able to, it's hard to turn it off, and you really can't turn the job off because it's a 24/7 thing, but you just have to learn to manage that. And again, get your head right, see the big picture, know that when things are temporarily not going well, stay with the plan, and it's all going to turn out to be a positive thing. As far as the pros and cons of running a city, the most challenging thing in running a city is the people. You deal with different kinds of people. I will say this, and I don't want to, sound like, Mr. Optimistic here, Mr. Positive, but I really am. So listen to me. For young people, and that's a great question, always remember this. Most people are reasonable. Even a lot of times when you have people that are unhappy and some that are unreasonable, they're very loud. But what I've learned in my public service is that that's usually about 5 to 10% of the people. About 90% of people are reasonable. If you just listen to them, answer their questions, they're very reasonable people. So again, you got to see that big picture and keep your head right.
Wow. Wow. I like this one because I'm glad you brought up the point about, we build these things for the city, but everybody's not a sports person. And look, obviously I got a sports background, but I just cringe when I see cities, all they build is sports, 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 sports. I'm like, everybody's not an athlete. Everybody, you want to really serve everybody. And I like this question because it's thinking about that. But this is Levon Johnson. He's in 10th grade, very skilled photographer. And he asked, "What has Southaven done that you think attracts so many tourists, even the ones that are not sports related?"
That's a great question too, for a young man. And the answer to that is, again, you got to understand that everybody has different interests in a city. Now, there's some things, whether you're interested in those or not, they bring revenue to the city that goes into the general fund and actually benefits all the citizens, whether you're involved in that or not. However, his question is outstanding. And the answer to that is you find the things that we all have in common. Again, we all like to be safe, first of all. We all like to eat, right? Is there anybody that doesn't like to go out to eat at a restaurant? And so, regardless of what your hobbies are, bringing restaurants, good dining options, shopping, and parks are not just about sports. Also, like in Southaven, we have the Bank Plus Amphitheater that holds, about between 10 and 12,000 people. Have some of the best concerts, best artists around the country that come play there. So I think everyone loves music. We all have different tastes in that. So again, I would talk about your restaurants, your dining, your music entertainment, and again, like I mentioned earlier, your pedestrian routes. Getting out and seeing beautiful scenery on a pedestrian path. I think we all share those things in common.
Yeah, and you guys got some great hotels up there too to accommodate all that as well,
Yes,
which is also a huge part of that. I like this one. This is Edward Flowers. He's in 10th grade, already helping run his own business in 10th grade. They're doing a lot of HVAC work in our community. But he asked, "If I wanted to be an elected official, what do you think would be the best educational steps to take? And oh, that's another pro and con question. But if I wanted to be an elected official, what educational steps do you think I should need to take?
That's also a great question, and I'll share this before I answer that. Never did I have plans of going into public service, and so as I look back on my life, I was actually prepared for this job, not even knowing that. So always
Wow.
remember that God has a plan for everybody. What you think you're going to do, you don't always end up doing. There may be a greater plan out there. There is a greater plan out there. So specifically on the things that you prepare, if you want to go into public service, the number one thing I would encourage someone to do is, first of all, start reading. And as simple as that sounds, reading creates knowledge. And the more knowledge you have about life experiences and learning from the mistakes and successes of other people that you get from reading is going to prepare you to be a good leader in the future. Along with reading, obviously, that's improving your vocabulary. You've got to be able to communicate both verbally and in writing. So again, not to uh, be overly supportive or send the message about academics, but academics are extremely important. People say, well, English is boring. Why do I do English? Well, I happen to be someone who was very strong in English when I was a student, and I use that every day. So learning to write, be able to communicate in writing, obviously that's changed with social media. Now you can reach people on social media by being a good writer where you couldn't have done that 20 years ago. So being able to improve your written and communication skills is critical for a career in public service.
Big time. All right, I got one more. This is Zayden Reed. She's in ninth grade. And she asked, after you became mayor, what was the most common problem you saw that you did not prepare or that you were not prepared to see?
We were very successful in solving most problems, but I think it goes back to, if I had to pinpoint, the most challenging thing is learning to get everyone on the same page. Like,
There
we
you
live
go.
in a world of misinformation now, and your students know that. There's so many things now that someone can go on social media, put something out there that's not true, that's very misleading. So you have to being able to corral people back to the truth and the facts. I learned that was the most challenging thing because the old saying, a lie will travel around the world before the truth gets its shoes on, or something like that. That is so true. So if something gets out there that's incorrect, if you don't address that quickly, it can, become somewhat of a monster before you get the facts out. So the most challenging thing was getting everybody together and to consider facts instead of what they may have heard or thought previously.
Big time. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. First of all, I think everybody needs to visit Southaven. It's right at 55. Next time you're headed that way, there's a lot of great local businesses there that would love to have some people from Jackson visit. So just tell us about a few of the other things in Southaven they can visit while they're traveling north.
Southaven is a great city, and some may not know this. We're the third largest city in Mississippi. Again, at the top of the state, we're the largest city in North Mississippi. We've come a long way as a city. I grew up in this city when it was a small town before it even was incorporated. We are a totally different place now. We have great entertainment. Sallow Square is a great place to visit. It's across Getwell Road with a connecting pedestrian bridge to Snowden Grove Park, which again houses concerts. We created the first entertainment district in DeSoto County history in Southaven.
Wow.
So that's a great place to visit. We have Tanger outlet malls, great place to shop. We're in the
Forgot
process
about
of
that.
building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Yeah.
Tanger there. And then in the same area, that's our metropolitan district, and it's on I-55 at Church Road. We're building a hotel convention center, be a 7-story Embassy Suites hotel connected to a convention center. So there's so many
Wow.
things to do in Southaven. Obviously, the sports tournaments, restaurants. So great place to visit. So and live as well. So just because you're in the Jackson area, you may find your career being in DeSoto County, and I encourage you to all the students to consider living in Southaven.
Absolutely. Now, the last thing before we go, everybody that's here with me now, the next time we have municipal elections in Mississippi, they will be able to be registered to vote. And I have never in my life told anybody who they need to vote for because one, I'm not qualified, and two, I'm not competent. But I do have a big problem, like you said, when I hear people say, "Well, I just vote for president." Well, that is not only foolish, it's a waste of a lot of people that have fought for people to have for everybody to have the right to vote. And I always say, go vote for somebody, but have your butt in that voting booth voting for somebody, no matter who it is. So why is it so important? Once these kids turn 18, to go down to the courthouse and get registered to vote so they can have a say in these local elections.
It's critical because the elections, especially local and some of the council men and alderman positions, some of these votes or some of these elections are determined by less than 20 votes. So think about that. I mean, you're the person that you put in office to make decisions for you. Again, that's going to affect your daily life. So I would encourage everyone. I've told my sons this more so than I knew when I was their age. It's important as soon as when you're 18 years old, get out there, get registered to vote, and start voting because it truly matters who you put into office. It's very important.
Yeah, yeah, because I don't want to tell our age, but I can remember all the way back to President Reagan. And I don't remember a president ever coming to Mississippi unless one of two things were happening. They wanted my vote or it was a disaster. So I'm not saying the president's not important, but these local elections are so important. And I agree 100% with what you said. They affect your life exponentially more than who is in a White House.
Yes, that's great. And I appreciate you encouraging the young people to get out there and vote. And I want your class to know this as well. And I want to thank you for reaching out to me. You and I met in just a random occurrence, but the fact that you would go the extra effort for your students to reach back out to me to schedule time for us to talk speaks to the kind of teacher you are. So I hope that your students will listen to this and understand that they're blessed to have a teacher like you as well.
Well, I appreciate that. It's never been about me. It's just always been about exposure and giving people like yourself a platform. And we appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule for us today. We'll let you get back to work. But my man, Mayor Darren Musselwhite, all the way from Southaven, Mississippi, the top of Mississippi, we thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day.
I talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay.